Tonight's share is a schis for Akiva Sukha Ben Fega, for Ziva cooking for Chav Basmim, Ahov Basmim, and Dovdai Ben Pinapero. Yesterday we were a little more high strung. My shver was here. We had to behave. Now we're back. We're back in the zone. All right, we're going to start again. What? Now he's back. No, before he didn't faher us all, so the faher is different. Okay, right now what we're going to do is we're going to start exactly. We're going to start now. Daf Chuvov Amud Aleph, midway down. Choylin u'mishamshen. That's where we're up to. Choylin u'mishamshen. There's one over here. Looks like this is yours or no? Okay, could be. Okay, just take any and sit down. You got it. Fine. Guys.
Shah.
That was me. I'm going to shut it off. Yeah. All right. So, like we said, the Mishnah was talking about there are three things. The first was Shuchi Mitzvah P'tum and Sukkah. Now it is talking about Cholim Mishamshem P'tum and Sukkah. And we're going to speak about in a moment Oichlin V'Shoysin Aray Chutz Sukkah. That's going to be the Sukkah from today. So we said it, and you could say Simcha. Yeah. Oh, mine. That's very good. Okay. So now, we're going to start over here. Cholim Mishamshem. This is the second part of what the Mishnah discusses. It's the Cholim in the Mishamshem. We explained yesterday that what was the point of bringing this Gemara. We want to now understand why the Mishnah brought this when we know that a mitzvah would be part of from the Sukkah. So why did we bring this second thing of a Cholim Mishamshem? Technically, a Cholim is a mitzvah. Now, yes, you're going to say he's not mitzvah from the Sukkah itself. Okay, but let's see. And we explained it, and we went through this yesterday. So here's the Chazara. Ton Rabbanon. The Rabbanon learned. The Choyle we're talking about is not a Choyle that has a sakana. Sakana lefashos. Ela afilu Choyle shein by sakana. Even a Choyle that does not have a sakana. Afilu chash beinov, even if he has a ayik. Va'afilu chash b'roisha, and even if he has a headache. Amar B'Shem Ben Gamliel. B'Shem Ben Gamliel says, Pamachas chashti beinai. I one time had a ayik. Bekisri, it's a place, Kesari. V'hitir Rabbi Yossi Rubi, and Rabbi Yossi, like we said, it's Rabbi Yossi B'Chalafta. Rashi says, he mattered me, he gave me a heter. Lishen ani, u'misham shaychot sukkah. For me, I'm mishamash to sleep outside the sukkah. Rav Shorol, Rav Acha Bardula. Rav allowed Rav Acha Bardula, which was his name, Lemagna, to sleep. Bekilsa in a canopy b'sukkah mishum baki. And like we said yesterday, what was the purpose of why he still stayed in the sukkah? The reason was, he stayed there just in case we're going to go according to that shita that says that a canopy is okay and is not an oil, so then he would be yotzah. So for that reason, Rava Shara Rava allowed Rav Acha Ba'adl Magna Bar Mitalata to sleep outside the sukkah Mishum Sircha Digagishta. And like we explained, it was either something that only bothered him and not anybody else, or it was something that came upon during Yom Tov, that the first day or two. Because if it's a terrible smell and the sukkah stinks, it would not be a kosher sukkah, because you can't be in a place that's not gishmak sukkah-wise. So Rava, that he said that he allowed him to sleep outside l'tamei, he went according to his reasoning. What's his reasoning? The Amar Rava says, mitzvah potter from the sukkah, mitzvah is potter from the sukkah. V'ha'anan tanan. But didn't we learn cholim mishamshem p'tum in the sukkah, that a chola and his mishamshem is p'tum in the sukkah, chola in, a chola yes, mitzvah alai. So what are we saying? Why did we need to bring the second case? Amri, we said, and the reason why we brought the Choyle Mishamshen, even though we already know Mitzvah's Potter, is because to tell you that with a Choyle, he's allowed to have a helper with him. So we did have a Medegabe. The Choyle, he can't, let's say, eat himself, whatever it is, he's allowed to have a Mishras with him, and that person is now Potter from the Sukkah. Mitzvah Potter, Mishamash Avloi. If you can imagine, many times, let's say you go, Khalil, people have Yenamas, whatever it is, and they're in these hospitals over Yom Tov, the people who are with them don't have a Chiv Sukkah for this reason. Now we're starting the new Sugya. So whoever was halfway listening to the first part, let's zone in. Okay. Now this is the third part of the Mishnah. It's by the 10 lines up from the wide lines. It's the first word in the line. This is the third part of what the Mishnah brought, that you're allowed to eat an achilas ari chutz sukkah. V'kam achilas ari. So now that we say, everybody asks, what tak is achilas ari? Everybody wants to know, what can you eat outside the sukkah? That's a very big question. Answer is, Amar Yosef says, Tarti Aitlas Bay. 2 or 3 eggs. And it's machlokes exactly what it is, but he says 2 or 3 eggs. Comes Abaya, and the Gemara usually has, whenever you talk about Rabbi Yosef, Abaya was his Talmud, and he says, Amar Abaya, so Abaya tells him, V'hazimnin sagin sagile le'inish bachi. Sometimes it's enough, zimnin sagin, sometimes it's enough for a person to eat this. Why is it enough? Think about anybody's on a diet or whatever you're on, you eat a little bite, or somebody who had to sleep, you eat a bite, you're done. So maybe this is enough, and this would be considered a full meal for this guy. So why are you categorizing just these two? V'havalei sudas keva, and it would be a full sudas keva. Ela Amar Abaya, rather, so Abaya says, okay, let me explain it. Kedetam bar beirav va'elakala. It's like kedetam when they taste, bar beirav is talking about Talmidei Chachamim, Talmidim going to learn, va'ali lakala, when they're going up to kala means yachi kala. This lashon comes from a light learning. When they would go to certain places, you go to they would go to the Rosh Hashiva, he gives or you go for yachi kala, you're going to hear a shir. So what happens is in the morning they come, they're not sure how long the shir is going to go, and they go and they eat before, just like a little bite or two, just to hold them over, just in case it's going to schlep. God, it reminds me.
Is that extra shir or a smaller shir?
No, they don't know how long the shir is going to go. So they'll eat enough to, okay, I'm going to eat a little bit. No, not extra. I'm going to eat a little bit before learning. It's not extra. This is breakfast to them. It reminds me when I was, when my oldest sister was engaged, I went to my brother-in-law's house. So I was with his father. I ate the Klosenberger. Shabbos morning, I was there for Shabbos. Shabbos morning, his father tells me we go downstairs, and I don't know, back then I was at Frischkeit. So he tells me, have a cookie and drink some orange juice. So I tell him, what do you mean? I'm not going to eat before davening. He says, I'm an older guy. Have a cookie and drink some orange juice. Okay, he said, I'm not going to argue with him. No problem. I had the cookie, ate the orange juice. About 3:30 Shabbos day, while we're still davening in Klosenberg, he tells me, was the cookie worth it? I said, yes. that was that. I learned my lesson. When you're a guest someplace, ask me the comment. Next. Bottom line. Okay, so Tana Rabbanan. So the Rabbanan, we have a brisa. Oichlin achilas aray chutz l'sukkah. Someone who eats an achilas aray chutz l'sukkah, ve'ein yeshenin yeshenis aray chutz l'sukkah. Now, why did we bring this brisa if we already spoke about oichlin achilas aray? Why did the Mishnah not say yeshenim shenis aray? Why did it only say the oichlin v'shoisin, but it didn't say yeshenim? So the answer is very simple, and I think we one time explained it. The way the Mishnah was and the way the brises are. A Mishnah was meant to be very short form, very simple. It was like a code almost, but with words. So basically, any Tana would chap based on the wording what we're talking about, and they would chap. Oh, you don't eat achilas aray, also not shenas aray. They would chap that. Brises were basically a little bit more longer form, and that's why they didn't make the cut for the Mishnah. A brisa is just as on the same level as a Mishnah, just it didn't make the Mishnayos. Why? Because it was longer form. And Rabbi Yehuda and us, he wanted it to be sharp. So that's why we have the brisa to clarify. Tana Rabban, the Rabban learned, you eat aray chutz l'sukkah, but you don't sleep aray chutz l'sukkah. Why? My time. Amar Rav said, no. Amar Rav Ashi, Rav Ashi says, Gzeira Shema Yiradim. It's a Gzeira. Really, you'd be allowed to. But what's the concern? You may fall into deep sleep. So what happens? If let's say you're outside your sukkah and you can take a little drimmel, before you know it, it's the morning. You missed out and you slept the whole night. It's the problem. So Amalei Abai says, Elaha, if that's the case, that we're concerned about your mom's falling asleep and going out for the night, so why, by case of tefillin, do we allow you to have a shenas aray? And we're going to see, he brings a brisa. Elaha D'Tanya. Amalei Abai says, Elaha D'Tanya, explain to me this brisa that we're about to say. Yashan Adam shenas aray b'tefillin. A person goes and sleeps a shenas aray b'tefillin, and that's okay. Avalei shenas keva, but you can't sleep a shenas keva. So if that's the case, that a shenas aray would be a problem by a sukkah, why by tefillin would be okay? Tefillin is much more chomer. Tefillin, no, but tefillin in a sense you have to keep. No. But right now, no, we're talking. I know. The different. Oh, very simple, very good. Because no, exactly. Because eating, very good. Eating, you're conscious. No, you're up. You're conscious. So when you start eating, you're about to eat a little bit more. You walk into the sukkah. You see what you're doing. you hold back from eating, you walk into the sukkah. Exactly like Moshe says. Sleeping, you're out. When you're out, you can't. So 1 second. We're about to see. We're about to see. That's the question. But we're about to see the answer. That's the question. So.
You can't sleep comfortably in tefillin.
No, you could. Back then they wore tefillin the whole day. So now you're going to see. Right now we're going to see exactly what his question is and exactly the Gemara's question and the answer. So, tefillin, you're allowed to sleep a shenas aray, but not a shenas kva. So now we say lecha shemiyadim. Shouldn't we be concerned that he may fall asleep and what? And Rashi says yiradim shema techtafenu shino vishen kva. No, he says someplace else that he may pass gas. That's basically Rashi says. The concern is you're going to fall asleep. You may pass gas, and tefillin you're supposed to always keep a gifnuki. You're supposed to be kedusha. You're not supposed to. That's not supposed to happen. So, Amar Rav Yosef Bered Rav Iloi b'moiseh shenasel acherim. So what happens? Like he's like his question. The answer to the question is he gives over his sleep to somebody else. What does that mean? He basically has someone watch. If I start snoring, until then it's just dozing off. It's not a big deal. Fine. So comes a question. Maskif le Rav Meshashia. So Rav Meshashia asks a very simple question. Arvecha, Arva Tzarech. The guy who's watching you, but he may fall asleep. So he needs someone to watch him. So we say, Rav Bar Chana, Rabbi Yochanan, b'meniach roishe ben birkav askina. We're talking about a case where he puts his head between his legs. He's not going to be able to fall asleep comfortably. He's going to have a stiff neck. He's not going to be able to go into a deep sleep. And if you can't fall into deep sleep, we don't have that concern of passing gas. Rava says, Ein keva l'shena. There's no keva to shena. What does that mean? And Rashi explains what this means, and this is where we're going to get up to today. Rashi basically explains there's no keva to shena, meaning sometimes a person, you ever have a power nap, you're sitting someplace, you doze off for literally 4 minutes, and suddenly you're refreshed. So, who said that deep sleep is a deep sleep? Is that what you need? So Rashi says, because there's no keva, that's what Rava says, and Rashi explains it. And if we look into the Rashi, Levishen keva l'shena, ve'ein ba chiluk, ve'ein ba chiluk ben keva la'aray, le'inyan sukkah. So what happens? Since there's no limit, the concern only would be, for sukkah, you're not even allowed to sleep for a moment. Because sukkah, you're supposed to sleep inside a sukkah. But for tefillin, the whole problem is gifnuki. And what does Rashi end up saying? He ends up saying that a dozing, there's no naficha. But if you fall into a deep sleep, there would be. As long as you're dozing, your head's between your legs, you can't go into deep sleep, there's no problem. Let's see Chazar over here. Oichlin achilas aray. That's okay. Oichlin achilas aray chatzas sukkah. V'kam achilas aray. Amar b'yosef tarti oitlas bei. It's 2 or 3 eggs. Amar le'abai v'hazimnin. Abai says there are certain times sagi and sagi le'inish bachi that a person that would be enough for him. V'havle sudas keva, and that would be a sudas keva. Elam Rabbi says, "At time bar birav v'ayli kala." Basically, it's the amount that the Talmud is going to eat if he's concerned that he just needs something to hold him over till later on. Tana Rabbanon, the Rabbanon learned. My time. What's the reason why you could sleep but not sleep a deep? You can eat but not have a light sleep. My time. What's the reason? Rashi says, Gzera Shema Yirad. It's a Gzera. In reality, according to this Rav Ashi, you'd be allowed to, but we're concerned you may fall asleep. Okay. Why? Because there's no way for you to control. Once you're sleeping, you're unconscious. You can't control it. Abaye says, Elahadatanya Yashan Adam Shena Sarai B'Tefillin Avalei Shenas Keva B'Tefillin. So Abaye says, you got to explain this to me. If you just said that you cannot sleep a light sleep outside the sukkah, we see by tefillin you're allowed to sleep a light sleep. So please explain the logic why here it works, why there it doesn't. So Rav Yosef, that he gave it over to somebody else to watch him. So therefore, we're not concerned by tefillin. That your guy who's watching you is going to need someone to watch him. And then there's the end of Saif. So now we say that's not the case. So what do we say? We're talking about a case where he put his head between his legs, so it's very uncomfortable. He's not going to go into a deep sleep. And Rava says, Rava Amar ein keva l'shena. There's no set number to sleeping. Sometimes even a light sleep is good enough. Sometimes if you fall asleep for a moment, you'll be out for the night. There's no limit to how it works. That's why by a sukkah you would not be allowed to sleep outside, because Gzer Shamiradem, you may fall asleep and you'll be out. But by tefillin, as long as it's just dozing, that would not be a problem. Rabbi, have a wonderful night, have a wonderful Shabbos, and Mitzvah Shem, Matzah Shabbos, we will have the weekly review.